Hello, welcome to Tina and Karen Do the Tube. I am Karen.
Tina, still on vacation?
Yeah,
As you
where
can
you
see.
at? Still Hawaii or Florida or somewhere
I'm
somewhere
gonna
tropical?
say, yeah, somewhere in the Caribbean. I won't say where, in case all my fans want to, you know,
We added a new
try and visit
subscriber.
me. I know, yeah.
We're
Thank you, new subscriber.
a rocket ship. Remember, people, if you like our content, or even if you don't, hit the like, hit the subscribe button so that we can quit our jobs. That's what this is all about. We don't care. We'll lie to you. We'll tell you whatever you want to hear. We don't care about the truth. We don't care about entertainment. We just care about money. All right. That being said, I did the oh shit. I'm losing my
The
train of thought.
intro, the
No, no, no.
preliminary
The
intro.
preliminary? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. The words escape me always at the worst possible moments. Obligatory. The
Oh,
obligatory like
okay.
and subscribe message. And I was seeing that we posted our Jersey Shore episode. Not a lot of like love on that one. This one's not getting
Yet.
the same views. Oh yeah, but I've been tracking the reach, and we're getting a similar reach, but not as much click through. So I guess Jersey Shore might be a little outdated for people to really be
Oh
interested in.
shit. We're
Yeah.
we're reacting to outdated content?
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, we're gonna be reacting to a video from I think the channel was called Film Stack. I want to be able to give them credit. Film Stack.
Yeah.
About why 2000s movies look and feel different.
To be fair, we were thinking about doing the 80s version of this.
80s films definitely feel different. The only reason we decided to do with this one and not the 80s is because neither of us were really alive in the 80s. Now,
That's true, yeah.
I'm a lover of 80s movies, but I don't know if I could relate to why they were so different to other decades films. Now, this goes back to where we have expertise.
Yeah, I can definitely I'd say probably the majority of the movies I've seen have been in the 2000s, I would
Right.
say.
So that was like the
2000s, 2010s.
that was our prime youth. That was our high school years, early adulthood. So I feel like we can definitely relate to the cultural references in this video more.
Although if I go back to some of the early 2000 movies, they do seem pretty old now.
I'm gonna hope that they're gonna focus more in the late 2000s, just because I will be more familiar with it. Because I think early 2000s kind of had a bit more of a late 90s vibe, and it makes sense. They're right next to each other.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like Limp Bizkit was a big deal in the early 2000s. That so basically was over by the time we were in high school.
Yeah, I mean, the 2000s definitely had like a very hard kind of segue into it. Like we started out with Y2K and then we had 2001
I
and yeah, it felt like things were immediately going to be different.
I've been going back and forth on when was like the peak of civilization, if it was the 90s or if it was the 2000s. It's all been downhill since one of those decades. I can't tell which.
2008.
Maybe I don't know. Well, no, I was gonna say 2012, like apocalypse. Mayan
Oh,
apocalypse.
that's
Uh,
another good date.
no, but yeah, like there's something about the 2000s. I think that like people were overall pretty chill and got along with each other. Um, and then like it seemed better than now.
Before
But
the internet, really took off.
it most likely was the internet. I think internet was just used for like stupid memes, and
Like
it still,
forums and
yeah,
chat forums and all that.
like we didn't really know what we were doing. Like
Yeah.
it was all like experimentation. Like, oh, look at these kind of really cool flash games and cat videos and crap.
Yeah.
And we didn't really know what we were doing. It was all
We didn't
experimentation.
know our love of cats really until
Oh
the
yeah, I think.
2000s.
Do you know like Tim Berners-Lee? He invented the World Wide Web.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, like obviously the internet predates the web, but like he invented the first web browsers, the concept of the web. And someone asked him in an interview several years later what surprised him most about the internet. Um, and he said that he predicted porn was going to be a big deal. He predicted there'd be e-commerce and streaming and media and all that sort of stuff. The thing he was most surprised by was cat videos. he
Couldn't
didn't
see that coming. That
he
was out of left field.
he did not think that was going to be a big deal, but it was.
All right. So what about quantum computing? What?
Quantum computing. This guy was
Yeah.
pretty
What?
smart. This guy's pretty smart. I don't know what he predicted quite a bit. Not that he knew what was going to happen precisely when or, um, but it's all the beginnings of technology taking over.
Yeah.
I watched this video that I thought we might have reacted to, but then I thought it was too dark. It was like, what will dating be like in the year 2050? I
I don't
watched
want
it.
to imagine that.
I watched it and it was pretty dark. So I thought I thought there'd be more humor to it, but it was all like pretty dark. So I was like, yeah, I'm not into this. Basically, we're all gonna have AI companions. We're gonna be meeting in the metaverse, and we're gonna be catfishing everyone.
That sounds awesome.
Okay, all right.
I guess the big thing about the 2000s is that we were all still watching on DVDs a lot, and maybe even VHS for a portion of it during that decade.
I hope they're not going to focus too much on the tech because the tech doesn't seem that interesting to me. I was hoping they were going to talk about maybe like what the culture broadly was in the 2000s, what you can get away with then that you can't get away with now.
I think longer films you could get away with a lot more back then.
Well, I wasn't even thinking. Well, maybe. How long was everything? Oh wait, what was the new Avatar? That was like 3.5 hours long, wasn't it?
Oh, that's James Cameron.
Yeah, but didn't that movie make like $1 billion?
Like,
What? Didn't it? It did, didn't it?
yeah, you're not wrong.
And I have no desire to see
I
it.
went and saw it.
I have no desire to see it. It's like
Less than the newest Star Wars.
fuck. No, I've given up on Star Wars, unfortunately. It's a sad admission. I used to love Star Wars.
You know, and they're making three more. The same character.
There was a brief moment I remember hearing that they were gonna fire the head producer or whatever you want to call it, the executive producer, who was in charge of the last three movies, and then retcon everything. Like this was an alternative timeline. Here's what really happened.
That would be pretty drastic, I would say.
It would, but it'd be worth it.
It's only ever worked with Spider-Man.
That worked great. I mean, No Way Home was a great. What's the best movie you've seen in theaters in the last 3 years?
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Okay, I still haven't seen that yet. Although I did watch Temple of Doom, which is a great movie. It's underrated. It's
Can't
so.
believe there's a new Indiana Jones coming out.
I don't want to see
With
it.
Harrison Ford.
I don't want to see it. I'm just thinking like because the actor, because like I told my wife, I said like the kid actor from this movie, he went on to win an Oscar. It's like a great story. He was like yeah, seriously, he was like a washed up kid actor, and then they pluck him from obscurity, and he's now an Oscar winner. It's great.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but we watched Temple of Doom, and that's a really goofy movie, but it's kind of a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's clearly
Very
not as
campy, and before Spielberg kind of, really got, I don't know, super famous.
It's I no, he was famous because he had done Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's mostly just that like it's clearly not as good a film as Raiders or even Last Crusade, but it's so goofy that it kind of it kind of gets a nostalgia bump for me, I guess, because it's
Okay. It's not, it doesn't take itself as seriously as
Okay.
the other adventure movies.
so like put it like this: Temple of Doom and Kingdom of a Crystal Skull, right?
Uh-huh.
That's the fourth one that came out, like, ironically, in the 2000s. Kingdom of Crystal Skull might be a more well-produced overall movie, but it's boring. And Temple of Doom takes real chances, even though it doesn't make much sense in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's more risky.
You're saying Harrison Ford surviving a nuclear blast in a fridge isn't
That one's
taking enough risk?
that is pretty stupid, but it's done in. Unfortunately, it's done in a way that like it's underwhelming.
Okay.
I
What did
would
you think of
say.
Shia LaBeouf in that movie? I thought he
Let's not
could...
talk about Shia.
Okay.
Well, what were you gonna wait? What were you gonna say?
Well, I'm trying to think who would be the next best Indiana Jones.
Chris Pratt would make a good Indiana Jones. Plus, he kind of looks like
Yeah.
Harrison Ford a little bit.
That's true, actually. He's kind of like that, I don't know, tall, you know,
Uh, I,
goofy lead man. Although no, Harrison Ford's a little more
Harrison Ford,
serious.
yeah, Indiana Jones was never a goofy character, so that's why I would say Chris Pratt wouldn't be a good. I just think they look alike, but truth is, like Chris Pratt's way too goofy to play. Uh, Still bothered
Might
that
be good for modern day.
I'm
I
still
don't.
bothered by Chris Pratt playing Mario.
Apparently, people like that movie.
I know, and I really want to see it, but I can't get over the fact that they had to basically Americanize Mario's accent. I wanted to hear like the goofy, over the top Italian accent.
Would you rather see the original Mario movie?
I like the original Mario.
No,
You don't?
I love it.
I kind of love it. It's another one of those like
It's
guilty
me,
pleasures.
Italian plumber.
No, like no, in the original Mario movie, he's like definitely from like Brooklyn. He's definitely got a New York accent. But in I think the new Mario movie, it's not even it's not even an Italian American accent. It's just a American accent. It's boring. It
They don't
it
even
doesn't
like
fit.
try to.
No,
I don't know.
have you seen the movie yet?
No, I know. I don't know anyone directly that's seen it. I know people that have seen it and they liked it, but they said it's very much for kids, though.
I'll still go see it because I love Mario. I just mostly bothered by the fact that they had to uh, sort of whitewash his accent because it's so much more interesting with like the original Mario voice actor.
Yeah, it's just more fun.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's not waste any more time because
Okay.
this video is only 10 minutes long. We should have no problem finishing it if we just stick to our schedule.
All right.
So, you want to get started?
Without further ado.
All right, let's watch.
Thousands. From cargo pants to blockbuster video to the birth of social media as we know it today. The 2000s were a decade that not only changed the
What are you doing? Why are you gonna make it awkward in the first 2 seconds?
I was just feeling nostalgic.
First, Mark Zuckerberg and Blockbuster's fair.
Yeah, back when he was like a whiny, early 20-year-old.
I don't. Was Mark Zuckerberg really all that famous? I thought it was all about Tom.
It's all about, what's that?
Do you remember Tom?
Oh, yeah, Tom was way cooler than Mark.
Tom was
Oh, yeah,
way
they should have shown a picture of Tom instead of Mark.
That's right, MySpace, big deal. Oh, this is a horrible freeze frame.
I don't think MySpace made it out of the 2000s.
Yeah.
We've already covered why 80s and 90s movies look and feel the way they do. So in this video, we're moving on to the 2000s to see why movies from that
Hey, we
decade
saw
have
that.
that certain
Yeah.
look and overall feel.
Well, not that
But let's not
one,
waste
but yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
any more time and jump right into it.
All right. They're starting with Borat.
Interesting choice.
What would you say is the most? This is gonna be a big question. What's the most quintessential comedy of the 2000s?
Okay, I thought you were going to say what's the most 2000s movie.
That's even bigger. I don't know if you could think of that.
Okay.
But
Quintessential 2000s comedy?
yeah, what's the comedy that first jumps to mind?
Ooh, probably Talladega Nights.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so. Will Ferrell had a great run of movies early in the.
Yeah, Will Ferrell had a lot of good movies back to back to back to back. He had Old School, Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, Anchorman. I
Yeah.
might be missing one or two, but he had like a. He was a big comedy star back then. So Will Ferrell movies, okay.
Definitely the ones I remember quoting the most is in the 2000s.
I think Superbad and Tropic Thunder might also be in the top 5.
I think Superbad was the first one that came to mind.
Yeah,
but
for me
I think it felt more of like a coming of age film.
But it was.
Kind of.
I think it was. Yeah, well. But can you call it uniquely a coming of age film of the 2000s? Like, does it feel like what you would make today, or what you could make in the 90s?
That's true. I mean, you could probably make that movie in the 90s and it wouldn't be that different at all.
Okay.
The whole plot.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe it's generic teen sex comedy, but for whatever reason, it's the first comedy that came to my mind.
Okay. I remember a lot of people saying at the time, like, this is the Animal House of the 2000s or something like that.
Yeah, I guess so. It kind of felt like, I mean, like I didn't think of it that way, but like, cause I wasn't a big fan of Animal House, but it just seemed to hit all the right notes of what it felt like to be a high schooler, or in your very early
College
20s,
teens.
yeah, college teens, in that time period. No,
I
not for you?
think maybe a little bit because we were just. I think that came out 2007, 8,
It was
right as we were going into the recession, and a lot of those kids didn't really know what they wanted to do with themselves, so they're just kind of. I don't remember at the end of the film. Do they like?
the end of the film is basically just realizing that they. I don't know, what was it? It was along the lines of they were best friends and they felt bad that they felt like, oh, they naturally can't be friends anymore as they go to college, because one of them was going to a much better college than the other one.
Okay.
So it was along the lines of like, okay, are we just gonna grow apart, or do we actually care about each other?
Yeah.
And the whole movie's set around, are they gonna get laid? Are they gonna get to the party with the booze? That's what the whole movie's about. But it's really about the fact that like, these friends care about each other, even if they, they're prioritizing other things, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not a movie that you could fast forward, I think, and be relatable to kids in the 2010s.
I don't think so.
No.
No. For a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I would say, like, number one, I think kids in high school nowadays are a little too sensitive to handle, like, kind of the banter you would get back then. Like, I remember vividly, and I'm going to say some bad words here, but I remember vividly you'd call your friends faggot all the time. And it was just like,
Yeah, I
okay,
know.
but it wasn't like you hated gays. It was just like just a funny thing to call your friend.
Yeah, it was a
Or
curse word that you could just.
Pussy.
And I think people knew that because when people curse these days, I don't know, is it the same? Saying fuck is very. I mean, I hear people say it on the plane everywhere these days.
Yeah, people have no more filter. I think fuck has lost a lot of its like punch. But mostly I was just thinking of the example I thought of, like you would just like, I remember that was vividly part of like being friends with each other. Like that was like early gamer culture, is you just thought of every nasty thing to say to each other.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't really mean it. It wasn't hateful. It was just, that was like early gamer talk.
Oh yeah. Retard too. That's
Yep,
another
retard's
one.
another one that you don't hear anymore. So that's another good one, exactly. Fun fact about Borat, this village that they filmed the opening scenes in, they didn't know this was for a comedy.
I've actually never seen Borat.
Oh, really? Oh, it's a
No.
great it's a pretty funny movie. But
I know.
the really funny part in this moment is that they thought that this was about a movie about poverty in Eastern Europe. They thought they were making a documentary. But really, they were just taking advantage of like, hey, we're gonna go to this poor village and we're gonna make jokes.
When you could actually do that, now they all have fun and they kind of realize something's going on.
Yeah, but apparently that was like the kitschy thing about like this opening scene in Borat was that basically they told the village that this movie's about like kind of poverty in Eastern Europe, and it's really just a chance to make fun of them.
Oh no.
Yeah. All right. Types of
Most
movies.
decades have some category or genre of movies that are more common than the rest.
True.
Specific genres that you can say define that decade. For example, when you think of the 1940s, you probably think westerns. The 70s?
I don't think of the 1940s.
Yeah, I can't think of a single 40s film.
Especially like during the war too. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a film era.
yeah, the earliest I can really start defining film in my mind is the 70s.
Me too. 70s is when like film took off.
I could think of movies in like maybe the 50s and 60s, but I can't, like, nothing that like I would say defines that era.
You know what the interesting thing is, like, about like what they call the golden age of Hollywood,
Yeah.
which is like 1920s to 1950s or whatever.
Mhm.
Because I guess they think that like better film quality was made in that time. And I've heard the argument that is completely survivor's bias. Like they used to pump out tons of shit movies like a week. Like, you know how like a studio spends months making a single film now? These studios would make out a new movie every single week.
Oh, really? So yeah, they weren't even like taking their time and trying to grind something out.
For the vast majority of films, it was just basically like, let's make some money. Like the term B movie comes from the fact that when you used to go to a movie theater, you'd get the scrub movie that you got as a add-on to your ticket price when you wanted to go see a real movie.
Okay.
So like, yeah, your ticket didn't just got you entry to a movie; it got you entry to a cartoon plus a B movie and the actual movie you wanted to
Oh
see.
wow, you'd spend the whole day at the theater.
If you wanted to, yeah. But yeah, so like, yeah, they used to put out. It's survivor's bias. So yeah, our 12 Angry Men, Casablanca, and some of these other old movies, classics, or Gone with the Wind. Yeah, those are classics, sure, but those are survivor's bias. We just think of them, but the truth is they were making crap movies back then, just as much as they are now.
Just nothing's changed.
Nothing. In fact, but the crap we make now takes time.
Okay. It's better looking, more extravagant crap.
Maybe, because I'm going to show you a movie this Halloween called, what was it called? Shit. Okay, you talk for a minute. I'm going to look it up because I did text Mike. I didn't want to lose this. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's...
No, just talk about your thoughts on... Talk about your thoughts about the film.
Oh, sure.
About, like, classic Hollywood.
Classic Hollywood. I want to see that movie Babylon that everyone was shitting on. That's supposed to be about like the golden age of Hollywood. I don't know if I would like it though. I had an interesting conversation earlier today with coworkers, and if anyone had walked out on the movie. I don't think I ever have, but two of the people said that they had. One did it twice.
What was the film that they walked out on?
Moulin Rouge, and I can't remember the second film.
Moulin Rouge isn't that bad. I don't know.
I didn't think it was bad, but they don't like musicals, so.
Fair enough. I found the name of the movie we were watching this Halloween. Schizophreniac the Whoremangler.
The Whoremangler?
Yes.
I love it.
And I saw a review of it. We got to watch it.
What's the Schizomaniac?
Schizophreniac the Whoremangler.
All right. I'm down.
All right. Okay, we're watching it. We're watching it. Apparently, it was made with a lot of passion. Like, they didn't know what they're doing, but they had passion. It's the Ed Wood symptom.
Unlike a lot of those 1920s through 1950s movies.
I think this was made in the late 90s, but yeah, basically. We're gonna when we run out of time, officially, I'm gonna refill my drink and use the restroom, but I'll be back. So okay. All right, let's keep going.
Probably crime drama. Well, the 2000s were no different. There were a few genres that stood out during the 2000s because they were either getting a resurgence or really hitting their stride with mainstream audiences. The first type of movies that come to mind are superhero movies. From what some consider to be the birth of modern superhero films with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, to the birth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with 2008's Iron Man.
It's kind of weird to think of the MCU starting in Iron Man. It was in the 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like, yeah, it really did start there, but this current iteration is so much different than how it began. Like, I think they gave Robert Downey Jr. like a huge contract. Like, he got a percentage of each Marvel movie just so that he would play the Iron Man role.
Well, he made out banking that. Smart decision. Yeah. But do you think that, like, so if the 2000s started the superhero trend, do you think the 2010s killed it? I mean, I remember
not per se. I think the 2020s killed it.
Okay, fair enough. So I feel like we've been going downhill in the whole superhero genre since Avengers.
Yeah, since Endgame.
Definitely since Endgame. It's a rapid drop off since Endgame, but I would say Avengers was peak, and then you had a few good superhero movies, and then you had Endgame, and then there's a massive drop off.
Yeah, and I don't even think most people can really explain it, because everyone I know that likes superhero movies to start with likes Endgame and, most of the movies beforehand, but I think, I don't think they can, I don't know if they know what to do is to build that kind of like big draw of, movies and forming a narrative around all these different superheroes like they did before.
I think what they're doing wrong, and I don't think you can catch lightning in a box twice or bottle it twice, because they're trying. So they're replacing all the old cast with new cast, and people just don't have any they don't have any connection with this new cast. So you're replacing all these beloved characters, and it feels very artificial to the people who are already liked the original characters. It's like, you can give us a new Thor, you can give us a new Captain America, you can give us a new Iron Man, and all of this sort of stuff, but we know it's not the real thing. So it's very hollowed out.
It's kind of being hollowed out from the inside, basically.
Well, they're not original. We don't.
Okay.
What's the last original Marvel character that like people fell in love with? I would argue it's probably Guardians of the Galaxy. That's quite an old movie now. It's almost 10 years old.
That is, yeah. Yeah, I think Guardians was the movie a lot of people didn't expect would do well, but did actually very well.
It proved that Marvel could make a hit with anything, including a tree and a raccoon. But yeah, I would say what characters have come out in the last 5, even 10 years that people are really in love with?
Okay, like new characters that people can relate to. Almost.
Maybe Spider-Man, but it's so much of a cop out to say if it's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and Spider-Man's coming old too. Like, I mean, seriously, like we have Ghost Knight or Moon Knight or Ghost Moon.
Oh yeah, Moon Knight. I did watch that series.
You had Moon Knight, and you had the Chinese rings guy.
Oh, which wasn't bad, but love it.
And then you have Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, which I guess people thought was okay, but
yeah, all the TV shows have been kind of meh.
No one needs
movies
this.
Movies have been also kind of meh.
People are burnt out on Marvel. It's a formula, and they're done with it. They want something different.
Force feeding it to us now.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Iron Man, when Iron Man came out, it was a breath of fresh air. Everyone loved it. Now it just feels
almost like what they did with and what they're doing with Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars used to be a big deal when one came out. Now they want to churn them out like once every year.
Yeah.
Once or twice every year, really.
Okay. So, yeah,
it's abundance, too much. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
There you go.
So when you're looking forward to a new movie every 3 years or 5 years, that kind of builds up anticipation. But then these movies come out a couple times a year. It's just like no one cares anymore. They just don't.
Yeah, and I don't think these early superhero movies have a ton of rewatchability. Like, I don't go back and rewatch the first Iron Man or...
As much as people
Spider-Man.
love it, I don't either. I haven't rewatched the original Iron Man. I don't know when, years ago.
Yeah, maybe like a more recent superhero movie, but it's not something I could see myself watching again 10 years from now. Maybe if they had like kids and wanted to surf through the Marvel universe, but...
I would say The Dark Knight, but I think they're about to talk about it, so...
All the way to Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. The 2000s were the decade that started the mega popularity and obsession of the superhero genre that so many love today. If it wasn't for the 2000s, we probably wouldn't have had as many superhero movies as we do today. And we wouldn't have seen the birth of cinematic universes, which all started with 2008's Iron Man and saw their crazy rise during the 2010s. It goes without saying that even though there weren't as many as there are today, superhero films were a defining genre of the 2000s. And
that's classic. Oh, we're gonna get into Superbad.
Many as there are today, superhero films.
Say what you want about Spider-Man 3. It's campy and fun. Again.
There is something about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man that at the time I never realized was so awkward.
It's very awkward, but once again, it's memorable. It's not forgettable. These people, like, this is a movie that people will remember for years, even if it's just for the memes. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
They memed it in Into the Spider-Verse. Which was great.
Did they Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah. Well, wait. Which one? Which the
animated one?
Yeah. They memed it. Peter Parker did the whole Spider-Man dance, the Tobey Maguire dance, and made fun of it. It's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Films were a defining genre of the 2000s. Another genre that was basically synonymous with the 2000s was that of raunchy comedy. Superbad, Hangover, Borat, Step Brothers, Eurotrip, Old School, Tropic Thunder, Pineapple Express. These are just some of the comedies that many consider to be comedy gold and some of the best out there. These types of comedies were already
All great
popular in
movies.
previous decades,
All
but
they,
the
yeah.
2000s took.
I haven't seen Eurotrip though.
Great movie.
Is that what we're seeing? Is that worth seeing?
Honestly, I was thinking of all those movies, I thought Eurotrip and Hangover were probably the least iconic out of them.
Really, The Hangover? I
know.
remember Hangover was a really great comedy.
I think they just did too many hangovers.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but if you can just forget the sequels and just think about the original,
Okay.
if you can only
Original's still great, yeah.
yeah. So if you only think of it in that context, is Hangover a classic?
Without the hangover, you don't have, what's his face?
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper and the Zach Galifianakis.
Well,
You know,
Zach Galifianakis. I mean, with all due respect, what did he do after The Hangover, though?
I don't know. He was still around for a while.
Okay. Have you ever seen Between Two Ferns?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. That's great. But that's the only thing I can remember him in other than The Hangover.
Okay, other great thing that he's been in.
So he's in two great things, two great comedies. It's Between Two Ferns and The Hangover.
But yes, Bradley Cooper for sure.
Yeah. That launched a career, and he actually became a good drama actor, even though he was like,
I think he's primarily known for drama now. He's kind of like the Sean Penn of this generation.
He does
Sean
look like
Penn.
Sean Penn too. I never even realized that. You're right.
I wasn't even thinking that, but yeah.
Don't they look alike now? You think about it.
A little bit.
Think
The
about
jaw,
their faces.
the nose.
The nose. Yeah, exactly. All right.
I know, and now everyone forgets Sean Penn was like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and
Still his best movie.
Them to a whole new level. They were also a huge stepping stone for some of the most popular actors we still see today. Jonah Hill with Superbad, Sacha Baron Cohen with Borat, Steve Carell with The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I don't think The 40-Year-Old Virgin launched Steve Carell's career. I think it was The Office.
it was definitely The Office.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 40-Year-Old Virgin, but it's not compared to Superbad and Borat. It's not that funny.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
He has done other good movies though, Carell, besides The Office, and or not The Office, but
All right. Hey, we're back. We were talking about Steve Carell.
yeah, Little Miss Sunshine. They're a great movie by Steve Carell. Now I was trying to think of other movies after that.
I'll always remember him as just Michael from The Office. I don't know if he needs anything else to his.
Oh, okay,
Resume.
one of that.
Well, I heard he was good in a movie called Fox Hunter, but that's like a drama.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think it's easier to transition from comedy to drama or drama to comedy? I don't know how many people want it.
Drama or drama to comedy. You
I don't know.
see it that much the other way around, do you?
No, I don't think a lot of drama actors want to. If Leonardo DiCaprio did like a super bad type comedy, I would think that would be very awkward.
I would respect him more.
Your hatred of Leonardo DiCaprio, astounds me really, because I don't understand. Like, do you disagree that he's a good actor?
Do I disagree that he's a good actor?
Yeah.
Yes.
If I said he's a good actor, you disagree.
I don't hate his movies per se.
Is he good in them?
I think he could do a lot better.
With Steve Carell?
Sure, yeah. Have Steve Carell as an Inception.
With Will Ferrell? Wait, you didn't like him in Inception?
Yeah, I said yeah,
It's my
Inception.
favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
Is it?
Yeah, I love Inception. Oh, I don't know if I done this with you yet, but like I've been like asking a lot of people. It's been an ongoing question, but if you had 5 perfect movies, if you could say there are 5
You
perfect,
did ask me.
I did ask them. What was your 5?
I can bring it up. I think it's on the.
I remember there was like 3 in there that were really, really weird. You don't have to look it up. I
Let's
just
see here.
I want to make sure I did ask you because So for those who are listening, the question I had asked was along the lines of, can you name me 5 perfect movies? And these aren't your 5 favorite movies. These are the 5 movies that you could convince anyone are flawless. That just like anyone would like them. And he came back with a few really goofy ones. Like I think Lake Placid was in your list, and that one really.
Yeah, it was Forrest Gump, Lake Placid, Tropic Thunder, Point Break, and The Shining.
There's 2 in there that seem acceptable, and there's just like 3 that are just really out there.
What's wrong with Lake Placid?
Isn't that like just like a monster movie? It's like a really corny monster movie.
Exactly, it's perfectly corny.
See, look, I love Evil Dead, but I would not try to convince someone like the average person that Evil Dead is a flawless movie.
Well, I'm not trying to convince people that these are perfect movies.
The
These are
whole
my
point, no, the whole point of this like experiment is to think of movies that you think that the average moviegoer would say is a perfect movie.
I would say they got what they expected out of the movie.
Fine. Let's move on.
That really exploded during the 2000s. And although raunchy, these comedies are usually very sweet and heartwarming at the same time. The most recent movie that gave me those 2000 raunchy comedy vibes was Good Boys. This last one isn't so much a type of
I haven't
movie,
seen that.
but there were a few movie franchises that blew up during the 2000s and are still ones that we know and love today.
Of course.
Harry Potter, Fast and the Furious, Pirates of the Caribbean, Shrek, Ice Age. All of these and more are franchises.
Do you think Ice Age belongs in that list?
That was good. I don't think it's on the same tier.
Yeah, like I just think like those were some like really like I don't know about how classic. I don't think Fast and Furious is a classic.
Fast and Furious?
I just don't think it's a classic.
They're still making new ones.
That's part of the reason why
That
it can't ever be a
does say
classic.
something.
Yeah, that people pay for shit. You slap a Fast and the Furious label on it, and people will go see it. You think they'll ever make a Grand Theft Auto movie?
I don't know. That's a good question. I always enjoyed the storylines in Grand Theft Auto.
Okay. Do you think with the Super Mario Brothers movie being a big success that we're going to see a string of video game adapted movies now?
Historically, video game adapted movies have not done so well.
They're terrible usually.
Yeah.
But like with Super Mario Brothers being ahead, do you think Nintendo might run with a?
Definitely a Zelda, right?
Well, that's the weird part though. It's like because Zelda is like it can be taken seriously, but it's also sort of a kid adventure.
And Link doesn't talk.
If they make Link talk, that would fucking no, that would ruin it. Big no. Excuse me, princess, but like, tell me you got that reference. Like,
Make him a bitch.
no. Have you know the meme? Excuse me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's why Link doesn't talk. Because he's a fucking annoying brat. All right. Although I will say this, if they do make a Zelda movie and they do make Link like a talking character, I want them to throw an "excuse me, princess" in there just for the fucking like memes.
If you think there's one video game movie that they should, or video game they should make into a movie, what do you think it should be?
Oh, good question.
Mine is Metal Gear Solid.
Mine is a tie between Tetris and Pong. I would pay to see either one. Goddamn L Block.
That's the enemy in Tetris.
Yeah, that one comes
Or
out.
antagonist.
Yeah. And we're all saved by the holy line piece. That brings in the almighty Tetris. In all seriousness, Tetris. No. Let's think. That's good. What's a video game movie that deserves to be adapted? Super Mario Bros.
Final Fantasy VII.
No, the game's perfect, and the remake is pretty perfect. You don't need a movie.
Okay.
Zelda would be a good one, but I just think they'd ruin it.
Of course. I mean, all the Zeldas are some of the best rated games of all time, but you just know a movie wouldn't.
I would appreciate a really good Resident Evil 4 movie.
Oh, okay.
If they did it well, because it's a great game, great story, and if they could do it well, I would watch it.
Because they've done Resident Evil movies, but they haven't done 4 specifically.
The Resident Evil movies follow their own storyline, and they're very loosely adapted, very loosely based on the games. If they did a faithful adaptation of the Resident Evil 4 game with Leon as the main character, I think it'd be pretty cool.
All right, okay.
That's the best I can give you. Metal Gear Solid would be a good one too. Oh, Portal! Why didn't I think of Portal? Portal would be a great movie. Because Portal's hilarious.
Gladys,
Wheatley, Cave Johnson, just classic funny stuff. Yeah, the lemon stuff, it's hilarious. All right.
Franchises that scream the 2000s and are part of the overall feels of that decade. These franchises are still looked upon very fondly, and some of them are still getting sequels and spin-offs to this day. Yes, big franchises have come in each decade, but there are a certain few that resonate with the 2000s.
It's not Ice Age.
What the hell? What is this?
Okay, I'm leaving this in. It's an ad.
One ad that gets looked at.
It's an ad. I'm going to leave this one as well.
Out of context, this makes no sense. What is this? Wow. Okay. People don't need to know what that game's called.
I would totally fucking buy that game. I don't even know. Like, I hate
so random.
It was awesome.
That does not look like a kid-friendly advertisement.
This channel is not very kid-friendly, I'm afraid.
Okay. Sure.
Too much cursing, too much sex jokes, too much blood and gore. Yeah.
So you're saying that was the perfect ad for our channel?
Yes. We attract the right audience.
The 90s were the decade where film stock began to reach its peak of quality and digital was starting to become used for full-length feature films. But the 2000s were when the use of digital exploded and took over the industry. The shift not only gave us new formats, but also changed how movies were made and edited from there on out. It also changed how movies looked. With digital post-production, it became much easier to color grade films in post versus in camera. This resulted in more movies being digitally color graded, and this trend eventually evolved into the cinematic look that we think of today. This move to digital has also made it easier for creators to get more creative with their films. Post-production has become an...
Do you have any love for pre-digital filming?
Yeah, I mean, I think, but there's a lot of great films in the kind of pre-digital filming. I think early CGI was terrible, but nowadays I don't notice it as much.
I think that there was a terrible grace period between CGI being good and CGI being discovered. That that too many movies went down the path. Like, you would have been happier if they just went full practical effects, because sometimes practical effects are amazing. The Thing still holds up as being like,
oh, yeah, exactly.
I believe everything I'm seeing on the screen is real.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still sold. Like, it doesn't distract from it. If anything, it makes me tune in more.
I also like the hand-drawn backgrounds that you get in old 80s movies.
Yeah.
That you don't get, like, because we have green screens and, like, they just impose actual backgrounds. Like, I like hand-painted, hand-drawn, like, backgrounds. That you get that in Raiders and Temple of the Doom and other Indiana Jones movies. You get that in Star Wars. I guess I'm just more of a nostalgic person. I love old movies. I just wonder, if I had kids, if I introduced them to them, are they going to be like, Dad?
Are they going to be into it as
are they going to just say, like, Dad, this is so corny, this is so bad, why do you like this? Or are they going to be, like, as drawn into it as I was?
I think animated movies, they're still making great animated movies, and nothing too much has changed in that front.
Well, we could always share animated, but, like, if I show them, like, the original Star Wars movies, are they going to be, like, blown away? I think they would, because I think Star Wars is a story that easily resonates with even young audiences. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, it's not quite the same as, like, when I would go back and play, like, an N64 game, and I'm looking at the graphics and like, oh my god, were they really this bad? You know?
Yeah, but
'Cause
that's
at
sort
the
of the.
time growing up, I thought they were like great. Like, there's nothing better, you know?
That's true. There was nothing better. I remember like thoroughly being um blown away by the amount like the kind of games on the PS2 or the N64. And
Yeah,
now it's like it's
exactly.
so embarrassingly bad, but I mean at the time you have to remember like we were used to just like hand-drawn sprites scrolling on a screen. That was all we got.
Yeah, so they may not be like as impressed, maybe, but I mean, we still watch movies, you know, from like the 50s and 60s and can enjoy them. So
Right. But the thing about the 50s and 60s movies is that they weren't like blockbusters, if that makes sense. Like
yeah,
they were like highbrow drama. Like you watch those movies because not because the effects were any good or because the action was any good, but because they usually told pretty complex stories with really good characters.
okay,
Like I
yeah,
would say 12 Angry Men is my example. 12 Angry Men is I think one of the best black and white films of all time. And it's just a bunch of guys in a room talking about a murder case, but it's
yeah.
really really good
You don't get complex characters in movies these days. It seems like, or they're
because they
not.
don't pay
They don't
writers
feel
enough.
fleshed out. Hmm?
They don't pay writers enough. They don't need them. They think like, hey, it's all about like
They
getting
got
good.
ChatGPT now.
They yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that'd be kind of interesting. I wonder if like we'll actually get a first AI written movie. I know we have scripts, but I want to see a movie produced from an
Oh, I
AI
think
script.
definitely we'll have within our lifetime for
Yeah,
sure.
I hope so. I would go see it. Would you want to see it?
Yeah, I would see
Yeah.
it.
I some of the AI writing is pretty funny though. I mean, I remember reading like an obituary written by an AI that made me laugh hysterically because it was so. They just basically fed it like hundreds of obituaries and just told them to write an original obituary for a person, and it was just the funniest stuff. He's like, I was like the person died when they ran out of life to live.
No,
I,
I think they're a bit better these days.
yeah. All right.
Incredibly important part of the filmmaking process. Sometimes the
Great
most
movie.
important part when you think of movies that make heavy use of CGI. We'll fix it in post has even become a joke among film lovers today. This shift to digital had many cost-saving benefits. Although film is still sought after and preferred by some, it's a no-brainer to go digital because of the cost savings. Film is an expensive medium, and it's impossible to reuse. This means less waste, which in turn means more money left in your pocket. If a take goes poorly, you didn't just waste a canister of film, you can redo it for cheap. Editing with film is also more time consuming and costly. All of these time savings help studios stay under budget and stick to their schedules. These time and cost savings have also resulted in the rise of the indie film industry. This rise of indie films continued well into the 2010s, and we can thank the 2000s and the rise of digital for that.
That's glorifying The Witch too much. I didn't like The Witch.
Yeah, we just talked about The Witch in our
Yeah.
horror video.
Definitely an overrated horror movie.
I didn't realize there was a rise in indie films.
Yeah,
I
me
mean-
neither. I haven't noticed it either. If there is more indie films out there that are known to the public, then I just haven't been following it.
Yeah, it just kind of seemed like it was already a thing by the time I had really kind of gotten into movies.
It might have been,
But I
yeah.
guess that's about the time that I was getting into movies was in the later 2000s.
I was gonna say if there was a time for indie movies, it might have been the 2000s. I feel like that's when they started to experiment more, and we started to see more. Like Napoleon Dynamite, it's a great comedy that started as a low budget indie film.
Was it really supposed to be like a low budget indie film?
It was like I think
Oh.
the guy who played Napoleon Dynamite got paid like $5,000 to do the role or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
John, or what's his name?
John
John
Heater.
Heater?
Yeah, John
Yeah.
Heater. But like it's like I mean, they have one big name in that whole movie.
Uncle Rico.
No, Uncle Rico is not a big name. The guy who plays Rex, or what was his name? Rex Kwando.
Oh.
That was I don't know the guy's name. Point is, I guess he's not that big, but he was in the Drew Carey show. I hope you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know his name
Okay,
either.
fuck it. He's the guy with the voice. He has a very funny voice. He's in Office Space. You know who I'm talking about.
I'm sure I do, yeah.
All right.
Um, yeah.
Oh no.
What is this?
This is the Scorp. This is Mummy Returns, and this is the most embarrassing PS2 graphics. This is what I'm talking about. There was a period between we discovered CGI and CGI was good that made movies like this. Oh my.
This is a prime example of CGI at its worst.
Oh yeah, like they should never have done this. This is hilarious. I want to see what they have to say. That's supposed to be The Rock, by the way.
I was thinking, yeah, kind of like Rocket.
It's supposed to be The Rock.
For that.
Oh no.
You can just clearly tell how bad
Even
it
though
is.
CGI can be dated way back to 1958 with the release of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, it wasn't until the 90s where we really saw its true potential. And then it wasn't until the 2000s where it really took the world by storm. CGI opened...
Transformers suck because you can't tell what the fuck is happening. The YouTube channel Honest Trailers did this whole joke about it. They say, be prepared to say what the hell is happening. The action in Transformers is so chaotic and just it's impossible to tell what's going on.
Well, that's not why you're watching it.
Megan Fox?
Oh, that. Too, yes.
Apparently she's crazy. Someone told me this. No, she drinks her boyfriend's blood apparently.
Oh, yeah, it was Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's weird, too.
Yeah, I would say so. That's pretty fucked up. So I was gonna say
They're
like
perfect for each other.
yeah, she's hot, but she's also crazy. So
Yeah, she's well within the graphic spectrum.
for
Hot
sure,
and crazy.
for sure. Yeah, Transformers is pretty garbage though. Overall, right? You like
I
them?
had some nostalgia.
Okay, fun.
I didn't hate
There's some like appeal to the first movie. I feel.
Yeah, I remember when we were trying to go see the second or third movie. I think it was you, me, and one of our other friends, and you brought some.
Cyanide.
Yes, just in case the.
Just in case the movie was so bad we had to opt out.
And
they really
we actually did watch it.
Yeah, and I must say that's probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen. This
Worst choices of your life.
Thank God we didn't pay for it.
Yes.
Opened the doors for filmmakers to put things on screen we didn't think possible just a few years prior. And in many cases, it replaced practical effects because of its cost effectiveness. 1999 Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, made heavy use of CGI for many of its characters, including the most badass Star Wars character of all time, Jar Jar Binks.
Nice transition.
You know he's secretly a Sith Lord, right?
I was gonna bring that up. Just thank you for saying that. There is that fan theory that Jar Jar Binks was a Sith Lord who was actually manipulating the whole trilogy, the prequel trilogy, which I
I
love.
really hope that's the truth.
The theory behind it is very well fleshed out. Like there's videos on YouTube where it can explain that this was the original intention, and it's convincing. I'll say that, but I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
It'd be hilarious.
It's a great fan theory, though.
It's a great fan theory.
Only something a fan theory could come up with.
Yeah, right.
Well, CGI can be used not just as an addition or ancillary thing in a film, but as a main component of it. It ushered in a wave of movies that used complete CGI replacement of characters, such as in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, where whenever we saw Spider-Man swinging through the city, it was a full body replacement, and it looked so good. We also saw some amazing motion capture performances during this time. It showed us that these characters can...
Would you agree with this? Gollum was the first time you thought CGI was perfected? Like you really thought he was there? I thought that.
I don't know about that.
Jurassic Park?
Maybe.
I would say Gollum is one of the best CGI uses.
It's because he's a guy in a suit, right? But
It's motion capture. But,
Yeah.
But it's not... There's no one there. Well, there's no one... I don't know if he's actually there on set with them. I'm not sure. But I thought that Gollum looked very real. But
Okay.
if I had to pick the first time I thought CGI was the most convincing, would have been Jurassic Park.
He did legitimately creep me out at some points, Golem.
Right.
But I don't know if it's what sold me. I'm like, oh, this is the future.
I just thought like he was there. I never like for once thought he wasn't really there. That's the thing. Like with CGI, with
Okay.
Scorpion King, with the Mummy Returns and the Scorpion King, it's very clear he's not really there. It's just a fucking computer. I was convinced maybe it was the performance because it was a
Okay.
well acted performance. They just you bought him as a character on screen.
And the natural kind of movements and everything too.
Yeah, that it wasn't just like it wasn't just a computer generated image. Like it was actually on screen. But that could have been the performance as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Lord of the Rings had to be brought up if you're talking about the 2000s.
One of my like perfect films. Yeah, absolutely.
What would you say was the movie series that most defined the 2000s? Let's go Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter,
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Sure, Pirates of the Caribbean.
They were big movies.
They were.
I think Harry Potter doesn't define the 2000s. Here's the thing, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter spoke to the generation that read them, and Lord of the Rings is more timeless.
Interesting.
Like-
It's hard to compare.
50 to 100 years from now, people will still be talking about Lord of the Rings. I don't know how many people will be talking about Harry Potter, but Harry Potter is very, very entrenched in our generation. So we will remember Harry Potter.
They're already remaking Harry Potter, which is
No,
crazy.
they're not.
Yeah, no joke. It's gonna happen.
Whoop.
It's gonna be turned into a TV series on HBO,
They're gonna make why?
and one book per season, I guess.
What?
I know,
Are you serious?
Isn't that wild?
Well, they gotta make money somehow, right? But would you agree with my take on that? That Harry Potter speaks to our generation more, but Lord of the Rings is more timeless. I feel like I think that will live on longer than Harry Potter.
Yeah, I think the message maybe that Lord of the Rings carries, especially thanks to how well the movies were made too. I think Lord of the Rings maybe could have faded a bit if the series wasn't as good as it was.
Maybe, but they were pretty faithful to the books for the most part,
Yeah. So,
except for with the
Yeah.
hobbits. From what I know, Frodo was supposed to be much older, and Pippin was supposed to be much younger. That was the one thing I
Lord of the
remember.
Rings?
Frodo, yeah, like Frodo was supposed to be a much older, wiser hobbit than how he's portrayed in the show, in the movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like a man of the world. He's supposed to be a educated, aristocratic, mature hobbit. Because he's like 48. He's
Oh,
supposed
wow.
to be,
Okay.
Yeah, he's
I didn't
supposed to
know
be
he was
old.
supposed to be that old.
Yeah, he's supposed to be old. Right. Like, I mean, like, yeah, he's supposed to be a lot older than he is portrayed in the movies. He's supposed to, in the movies, he's very, like, naive and young.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Captivate an audience, such as Andy Serkis's Gollum in The Lord of the Rings. These days, CGI is used everywhere, even in places we wouldn't have expected. But during the 2000s, it was a defining quality of why movies from that decade feel like 2000s movies. Avatar basically broke box office records because of its CGI and the fact that it was
True.
a must-see 3D movie. The 2000s
yeah.
cemented CGI
Yeah, because there's nothing about Avatar's story that's worth watching. But the CGI is pretty impressive. The effects are impressive.
and digital effects as a staple in the film industry. During the 2000s, we also saw a huge spike in the amount of fully 3D animated films. In the 90s, we saw the first fully animated feature film with Pixar's Toy Story. But during the 2000s, we saw the number of animated films grow immensely.
Kung Fu Panda's good.
You're wearing sweatpants. It's
God.
Monday.
Go fetch.
Mean Girls is actually my favorite chick flick.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's just a really good movie. Period. Actually, I'm not even lying. It's actually really funny and
It actually
clever.
has a surprisingly good cast.
It's-
Too, that went on to do much better things.
Yeah, Lindsay Lohan. I start with her, of course.
Rachel McAdams and Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah, I would say actually, like, this is like one of my wife's favorite movies, and she would put this in a perfect movie. But I actually agree, this is a pretty damn good movie. I would say
I remember watching it a few times with my sister.
it's one of the chick flicks I think that is worth watching.
So, did you know that it
Oh, where's
If you own
the...
your home,
Oh,
Where's the...
you could install solar panels at no cost. Now, no cost does
all right, we're back. Oh. All right, we're back. Let's keep rolling, right? Any more thoughts about Mean Girls?
Great movie.
Good.
Similar to the 80s and 90s, 2000s movies can also be distinguished by their fashion. Cargo pants, emo, jeans with words on their butts like juicy. The 2000s were unique for lack of a better term. But then again,
Is the words on the button no longer a thing?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But very uniquely 2000.
I know emo was a thing. That was
What's that?
uniquely
Oh,
emo
emo.
was uniquely 2000s. Like you wouldn't see anyone doing emo now.
No.
No.
But I think the words on the butt has completely disappeared.
Okay, wow, I didn't know
think
this.
It looks very tacky now.
I'm so it was tacky then. I'm shocked.
It will come back like any fashion thing, though.
Okay. How about sagging pants? Is that still a thing?
Saggy pants?
Sagging pants, like pants that sag around your butt. Is that a thing still?
And I don't know about that.
All right.
every decade seems to have its own flair. Each decade seems to usher in a new wave of fashion, hairstyles, and overall looks that can help us distinguish it from other decades. And the 2000s were no different. The 2000s were the era of looking cool. But cool came in many different forms. And the 2000s took major fashion influence from...
Okay, you can't just go from James Bond to fucking NSYNC. Say, it's about looking cool. Look, James Bond does look cool. But don't go from James Bond
he's
to
timeless.
yeah, don't go from James Bond to NSYNC and say
Yeah, a
this
guy
looks
that wears a suit to everything.
cool. I'm just saying, like,
Dude,
if-
boy band.
what do you mean by looking cool at that point? It's just so broad.
Well, I think maybe that's what it is. Their person's trying to say in the video is that they cool, however they define it.
All right, however you define it. So basically, cool is subjective.
Yes, you
There's
know,
a-
with your yellow tips on your hair.
Oh God.
the music industry. This is probably the most 2000s looking image I have seen. From
Wait, let him say that one more time because it's actually funny.
music industry. This is probably the most 2000s looking image I have seen. From emo to wannabe gangster to mid-game basketball player with the sweatbands, the 2000s took a lot of
Would you agree with this statement? This is like if you showed someone a picture of this, you would say like, "Hey, guess what era this is from?" and they would 100% get it.
I honestly,
I would say early 2000s.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, it fits perfectly within 2000.
Yeah, I would say this is a very, very dated picture right here. No joke.
No, I don't think you'd see a group of friends dressed up like that anyway.
What does the world come to?
Yeah, now it's all, I don't know.
This is peak
Hyper
civilization. Peak civilization right here.
gangster to mid-game basketball player with the sweatbands, the 2000s took a lot of influence from media when defining their most popular styles. Don't get me wrong, movies from the 2000s made use of a lot of different fashion trends, but most movies set in that decade are very much distinguishable as distinctly 2000s.
Activated, it broadcasts your location.
Okay.
Similar to fashion, technology plays a big part in the overall feel of a decade. And the 2000s were no different. I would even say that the 2000s were a decade where the tech could really place a mood.
No, that was the original iPod ads. Do you remember those?
Yeah, it's just kind of bringing me back here.
To when you couldn't afford something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I had an iPod.
You did? I didn't have an
Yeah, I
iPod.
think you had a Zune.
I had a Zune.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking
Howard,
Zune time. They're making a comeback.
Oh, God. Wouldn't that be crazy if iPods did make a comeback?
I hope Zunes do. Yeah, I had a Zune. That's right.
I think I gave it to you, didn't I?
Did you? I think
I
you
think I
you
did.
did
I
at
got
one
it.
point. Yeah, you
Yeah,
had it.
because my aunt worked for Microsoft, and they just gave us one.
That's right. That's how I got my first Zune. That's amazing.
Of course you didn't buy it.
You're right. That wouldn't be me. I had no money back then, or now.
movie. MP3 players, or more specifically iPods, cell phones, iPhones, those colorful iMacs, social media. These were just some of the technologies that we saw.
They did Facebook again. That's so disrespectful to MySpace.
I know.
In the 2000s, it was MySpace.
That's what got things started. With you don't have Facebook without MySpace.
That's right. Give it respect. And you don't have MySpace without Friendster.
I was just gonna say Friendster, who I don't think anyone used.
No one fucking knows what Friendster is.
Isn't it crazy to think that I think we're coming around about the same time frame where we've had smartphones as long as we've had cell phones.
How does that work? Oh, you mean from
It's
cell
like
phones?
2010s is like when the first smartphones
2000
came out.
I think 2007 was the official first smartphone, but you're right. No one really had them until like 2010s. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've had them now for 13, 14 years.
And then I'd say probably like, was it the first cell phones really kind of became popular in like the mid 90s?
I think business class people basically had cell phones in the 80s and maybe 90s. And then like I think in the later 90s, early 2000s when more people had cell phones.
A broader consumer base.
Yeah. Motorola and Nokia, yeah.
Yeah.
BlackBerry, yeah.
But yeah, it's about the same amount of time culturally. I think now it's
Interesting.
yeah.
You ever think like if you have kids, like you'll be able to tell them about like a time when like before smartphones,
You're
before
gonna use
social
your,
media?
number pad to text people.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's kind of funny to think about though, right? Like, because they have no concept before their time, right? And you can actually explain to them what life was like before smartphones, before social media, before like everything went downhill. And that's how I'd say it to them too. Like, this is what life was like before everything went to shit.
I don't know if I had kids, I don't think I would give them smartphones, but obviously they're gonna find a way to, because not all parents are
Yeah.
going to do that. So
I would never give my kid a smartphone. I'd say when they turn 18, then they can decide for themselves.
when they can buy it for themselves.
Exactly. I'm not participating in that crap. No.
A lot of during the 2000s. From TV series to movies, we saw them all over.
Oh, Phone Booth is a movie that never would exist today.
Yeah, you're right.
Unfortunately, which is a good movie actually, but it's funny that would not exist in the world today. It's like, fuck it, this Phone Booth. I don't
It's kind of crazy when I do see legitimate phone booths still around.
Right.
Instead of as Doctor Who,
Actually, that's an underrated
Ripoffs.
movie. I should watch that again. I think that was no, I'm serious. I think this was a good movie. I remember it being like really
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
Over the place. Like I mentioned before, the 2000s were the decade of trying to look cool, and this was done by both the style you had, but also the technology you used. Movies today that try to replicate the 2000s often use these pieces of tech as a recognizable way of placing films.
Good. I want to show you something. A lot of people in the room. You need more space.
Do you remember these?
I'm sorry. One of the funniest like sight gags in Office.
Yeah.
Hey, it's getting kind of late. Do you want to just watch, see if something jumps out?
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
let's keep watching. Hopefully, something jumps out worth commenting.
When I was a kid, I often wondered why the heck someone would want to put black bars on the top and bottom of my screen. It seemed like a waste of space. Why were all of the TV shows I was watching making full use of my 27-inch tube TV, but most movies were showing letterboxes? It's because they were shot in a wide format. Wide formats in HD wasn't anything new in the 2000s. In fact, the first widescreen film dates all the way back to 1953 with The Robe, and movies shot on film can be converted to HD digital versions. But what was new during this decade was HD TVs coming to our homes and mostly matching the widescreen formats we were seeing
That's
before.
true.
In the 2000s, we saw a boom in HD TV. Our home theaters were rising in quality. In the early 2000s, DVDs were still extremely popular with their higher quality when compared to VHS, but now we saw Blu-ray and HD DVD, if you remember those. This was on another level. We could watch movies the way they were intended to be watched from the comfort of our own home.
Yeah.
We really stuck to Blu-ray, didn't we?
I never had a Blu-ray player. I remember the first time I saw HD TV or HD DVD, I thought it was fake. The frame
That
rate
was definitely hard to get used to.
the frame rate was so weird. Do you remember that feeling of
Yeah.
watching like everything seems too
Like
fast?
hyper realistic.
it was like, yeah, like everything was happening too fast. It just didn't seem real. I mean, I guess it was real. That's how things happen. Just you didn't process it. It seemed too fluid.
Yeah, but it's funny how like I've gotten used to that.
Yeah, so if you were to watch
Yeah.
old films, maybe that like, I don't know, how would that like affect your eyes if you've watched old films?
It doesn't really. I can tell it's old by the film, and obviously it's not digital and whatnot. But I distinctly remember watching HD movies first when they came out, and I was like, oh, this feels weird. I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, I remember it too because it was like my aunt and that side of the family, they were always quicker to the new tech than my family was. So we went over to their place and they had movies and we watched HD DVDs for the first time. And I was like, I remember the first HD DVD I ever saw was Soul Plane with Snoop Dogg. But it's a funny movie.
Sure.
But like it was just so uncomfortable almost watching it because the frame rate was just too wild for me.
I specifically remember us donating plasma and in the waiting room watching The Island
Right.
and
Island.
how like how hyper realistic it looked.
Yeah. They don't spare any expense at the plasma center.
No, not when you're forced to sit with a needle in your arm for an hour.
Right. Good times. I know you guys going music.
And of course, how can we not mention music when we talk about 2000s movies? The 2000s saw the rise of pirated music, and because of this, it allowed people to really experiment with their music tastes on the cheap. Now, I would never do such a thing, of course, but a friend of mine was into all sorts of genres of music. But the two genres that stood out the most during this decade were rap and punk rock. And the awesome part was that even though people had their preferences of genre, most still liked and listened to a variety of genres because of how easy it was to get music. If you grew up in the 2000s, tell me you did.
Do you feel like we might be part of the first generation that just loved all genres of music? Like,
I think we just had broader access.
yeah, because like I feel like in the 70s, 80s, or 90s. Okay. As I was saying, I just feel like maybe for the earlier decades, you kind of had to fall into your specific genre that you listened to. I don't know if it was socially, like you just wanted to fall into the right clique, or because maybe record stores only carried one type of music. But because of the internet and because of like the MP3 downloading sites, like you could just get more music and more variety.
Yeah, you were definitely like beholden to whatever the radio stations were playing per se.
Right, so you had to listen to your radio station to get any music you'd like. But then like when you went to like online, you could just download whatever you thought was good. So
Yeah, it's so easy to discover new music these days.
right.
Or new artists or, new whatever.
Didn't listen to Holiday by Green Day and In the Club by 50 Cent, and I'll tell you you're lying. Gangster rap, or more specifically 50 Cent, and punk rock were the genres that when used in a movie really screamed the 2000s. Thanks for watching. We really hope you enjoyed this video.
All right. Okay, so that was a pretty good video. It kind of recapped a lot of the 2000s, a little nostalgia
Took me
for both of us.
back.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Definitely, yeah. It seemed like the 2000s was very much like a transition decade into what we are now. It's first opened up, with music, digital film, but it still kind of kept a lot of the same storytelling elements per se.
Yeah. I would say let's go back. Good times, good times. I don't got much more to say than that. I haven't seen a truly great movie in a long time.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. If you get a chance,
I'll have to
it's
see that.
good.
Because I trust you. It seems like it'd be good. I'd watch it.
It's a fun movie.
Okay. Parasite was a great movie, but I don't know if it's a classic.
Okay.
That's the funny thing. I can't think of the last movie that was a classic.
Top Gun,
I haven't seen Top Gun, so
the newest one, or the
I haven't
old
seen
one.
the old one or the new one. I was never a Top Gun fan, so I don't know.
That's a great movie.
Okay, fine. Maybe I'll watch it at one time. But like, if I didn't grow up with it, it's gonna be so corny. I bet.
The beach volleyball scene in Top Gun is obvious.
Maybe. All right. Maybe we should watch together, like some scenes from Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. Let's see if I can get into it. All right.
Okay.
For Tina and Karen do the tube, I am Karen.
This is Tina, folks.
All right. Stay safe, everyone, and stay hydrated. We love you.